Monday evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well and I hope everybody is enjoying life. This is the LTL podcast. I'm your host, Bryan, and it is August 28th, 2023. I cannot believe that we are close, very close to a year from when this all started. We are 288 days from that horrible day, that horrible night, November 13th, 2022. And I thought that it would be a good time now, as we know where we are in this Idaho 4 case. It'd be a great time to look back and review and reflect. I didn't want to use the words look back because I've done that. We've done that before. We did that in April. And I really was kind of the catalyst for all of that. LTL podcast was the catalyst. There were many channels out there that started to start their own series of looking back and doing their own research and looking back at things that have happened. And we've been through a lot. We've been through a lot together, and you have all been here supporting this channel for a long time now, months, maybe over 8 or 9 months. I still see a lot of the same familiar faces in the chat. And some have given credit to that series and some have not. But that's okay, because we know that we here in this chat were the originators of that idea. That 7-part series that's over on my homepage that you can go back and look at. And it was an amazing journey through that time to go back to the very, very first day and reflect and look at how things came to shape. And then the arrest of Bryan Kohberger, and then the remembrance of the victims, and then the back and forth court motions that have sent our emotions high and low, and many, many sleepless nights that I've had following this case, reviewing this case, researching this case, sorting through the truths, sorting through the lies, sorting through the conspiracy theories. We've all done that together. Now, I can't change your mind how you think this might have happened. I can't change who you are, what your thoughts are. And there are many here in this chat that agree, and there are many in this chat that don't agree. But we continue to come here together and, again, review and reflect. And we've built such an amazing community just based around finding the truth in this case. And we will keep going on. And we're at a very pivotal point right now where things may come to a stop for quite a while. And it's a shame, because we all want justice in this case. We want justice for the 4 victims, Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. And we want that as quick as possible. So there is transparency in this case. So the evidence does come to light. So the curiosities go away. And we understand the most critical connections in this case. There's 2 things that have always bothered me. And there's 2 things that I need to know. And those are probably 2 things that you all want to know as well, because these are the most, I believe, sought after questions that we need answers to. 1, what is the connection? And 2, what happened in that house? Now, my friends, we may never know the second part to that. We may never truly know, because we were never, and we would never, ever be in that home when this happened. But number 1, we may get all of the details of that. And then there will be the details that will come out for part 2. But we were truly never there. And it will be an interpretation of what happened based on the facts and evidence in this case. And the only people that will ever know, and unfortunately 4 of them have passed, and there's two others that are in that house, and then the alleged murderer, Bryan Kohberger. So what I want to do this evening with all of you this evening is let's review and reflect. And I did some research, and what I want to do this evening is take us through some video and some news reporting that happened within the first couple of weeks. I believe that I have found the very first broadcast of this case, the very first public broadcast of this case. But what I want to do first is I want to just bring up where we are now. And I have an article here from Fox News, and it says Idaho students, murderers, Kohberger's legal team asked judge to ban cameras from the courtroom. Now, my argument here with all of this is that we need complete transparency in this case. We need everything documented. There has been so much speculation in and around this case. There has been so many theories in and around this case. And frankly, I've been tired of it. We need the truth. We need the truth. And we need those cameras in that courtroom so we can understand everything. We can understand that how the judge is going to react, how the lawyers and the attorneys are going to act, how Bryan Kohberger is going to act, how the families are going to act. We need to know everything. We need to see everything. And banning cameras in this courtroom is not going to stop this trial. It's not going to stop what happens on social media. It may stop things like what's put out there. It may start more conspiracy theories, and we don't want that in this case anymore. This case needs to be transparent, and this case needs to be truthful. But the actions that are going on to hide things from the public, this needs to stop, and it needs to be out there. And I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for your client that he's intimidated that cameras may be on him. I don't feel bad for your client that the camera may pan back and forth, or something may get posted on a social media site, or YouTube videos are made, or news reports are said. That's what we're here. We're here to report. We're here to give back to the people, to have a source of information, to give our opinion, our interpretation. Okay. So let's look at this article here. This is from Fox News. Kohberger's lawyers argue that the continued use of cameras in the courtroom could taint a possible jury pool. Could taint. Not will, not want to, could. Bryan Kohberger's legal team is asking an Idaho judge to ban cameras from the courtroom for the remainder of the proceedings, arguing that the operators haven't followed a directive to avoid focusing strictly on the quadruple murder suspect. His lawyer, Ann Taylor, made a motion to remove cameras from the courtroom Friday afternoon. 5 people living at the King Road residence, in Moscow, Idaho, including 3 of the victims, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Madison Mogan, and another victim, Ethan Chapin, was dating Kernodle and was staying at the home on November 13, 2022, when all 4 were allegedly killed by Kohberger, who allegedly entered the home at around 4 a.m. Taylor argued that camera-wielding courtroom observers have failed to obey a directive by John Judge, which was given on June 27th. Judge referenced a recent Chad Daybell trial during the June 27th hearing, a case where cameras were asked to leave the courtroom for focusing too much on the defendant. Judge said cameras in Moscow courtroom need to show a wide shot of the courtroom to avoid focusing strictly on Kohberger in order to stay for the rest of the proceedings. Taylor cited Fox News Digital's reporting on Friday's filing. Kohberger's lawyer argued the press observers have thus failed to comply with the court's direction, as continued publications of images such as those shown below continue to the present day, citing 3 pictures made available by Reuters and the Associated Press. Here are those 3 photos. She argued that a picture are blatant violations of the court's directive to cease focusing exclusively on Mr. Kohberger in their right uh, on in their own right. She added that the pictures were later included in articles that blatantly sensationalistic and prejudicial headlines and content. Taylor also arguing in the filings that continued failure of the camera operators to comply with the June 27th directive creates the potential for a jury pool to be tainted. Observers continue to failure to comply with the court's June 27th directive compounds this problem and results in the potential jury pool's constant innuation in cursory accusations and sensationalistic non-geist as factual reporting and analysis, Taylor wrote. The images and videos were taken during a pretrial court proceeding and posed no less danger. To the contrary, they gradually poisoned a potential jury pool to the trial even occurring with knowing the number of jurors able to render a just, unbiased verdict. Taylor's motion to remove cameras from the courtroom comes after Kohberger waived his right to speedy trial, a Wednesday afternoon court hearing, which delays the trials starting originally set for October 2nd. So that's where we are in the present day. How do you all feel? How do you all feel about this? I'm going to start a poll at the top. Do you personally want cameras in the courtroom? Do you want cameras in the courtroom? Okay, let me put this up here and then we're going to get to first video. And I believe this is the first reporting of the Idaho case. I did a lot of research today. This is from Crem 2. And I believe this was the first on-site reporting of this case. Okay. Poll is at the top. I'd love to see your votes. Let's watch this here.
Now we do want to get right to some breaking news this morning out of Moscow. Now we do want to get right to some breaking news this morning out of Moscow, as classes are canceled for the University of Idaho today following the deaths of 4 students.
Nicole Hernandez live in Moscow right now. Nicole, you've been there for an hour or so now. What are you hearing from police this morning?
And that's what makes me believe this was the first reporting. He said you had been there about an hour or so.
So, Tim Channing, what we know right now is that police do still have this house here blocked off with crime tape, investigating here. We have one person also kind of manning the scene, making sure nobody messes with the area. But what we know is yesterday, this house right here is where police found 4 bodies. And later that day, University of Idaho confirmed that they were U of I students there. So take a look at this breakdown here of the timeline that we have of how things happened. About 1 p.m., we heard reports of a homicide investigation near the college campus. An hour later, the school put out an alert on social media. It said Moscow PD is investigating a homicide on King Road. They asked the community to stay away from the area and shelter in place as a precaution. Around 3 in the afternoon, Crem 2 arrived in Moscow. Neighbors said most people living in this area are part of U of I Greek life or are students. At around 5 in the evening, the Moscow Police Department confirmed they had found 4 people dead. But it wasn't until late that night that they confirmed the victims were students. The University of Idaho also said Moscow police do not think there's any act.
Hang on here. I just want to go back. That camera's already been taken. Remember the light bulb camera? It's already been taken. See that? You guys see it? This is where that light bulb camera was. They've already collected it. You see it? Let me know. Type a 1 in the chat. You see that right there. Already been collected. They're already on it. They were already on it. Let's see what you all think. See that? Mine, you sees it. Already on it. Look at that. Already taken for evidence. That's probably why they were going back and knocking on this door. Talk to these residents. Let's just back this up a little bit more.
The police department confirmed they had found 4 people dead, but it wasn't until late that night that they confirmed the victims were students. The University of Idaho also said Moscow police do not think there's any active threat at the moment as they continue their investigation.
And that's what I say is that when we go back to review and reflect, you see things that you know of now because we've gone through almost 9 months already. So now these things are fresh in our head and we can go back and look. I never even noticed that before. And it's funny, I've watched this clip probably 10 or 15 times in the last 48 hours getting ready for the show. And it didn't even trigger my mind until I looked and I was like, holy smokes, the camera's already been collected for evidence.
And again, classes are canceled today for University of Idaho students. They will resume classes tomorrow. In Moscow, Nicole Hernandez, Courtroom 2 News.
Now, last night, the University of Idaho released a statement. President Scott Green says, in part, an event of this magnitude can understandably have significant impacts on those left behind. As vandals, we must come together and lift each other up. He also is letting students know that there are several support options available, including drop-in counseling.
Well, we will continue to follow this developing story here on Up with Krem. You can also find the latest information on our website, krem.com, and inside the Krem 2 app.
Okay, Krem 2 doing amazing reporting through this. And again, I believe from the research that I could find, going back as far as I could, and just hearing that news station and not seeing any major news networks around there saying that I had been on scene just about an hour. So I believe that is one of the first reports, if not the first report outside the home of the Idaho murders. Okay, let's do this now and go back to the initial press conference. I haven't heard this in quite some time, and we'll review this. And then I have a couple of other videos for tonight as well. Okay, Chief Fry here speaking. The first press conference.
My name is Chief James Fry with the Moscow Police Department. I'm going to be reading from my notes today because I want the information you received to be extremely accurate. We know you have questions, and so do we. That is why we're here. I'd like to thank everyone for attending this press conference. Joining me today is the Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson, University of Idaho President Scott Green, Provost and Vice President Tori Lawrence, University of Idaho Dean of Students Blaine Eccles, Latah County Sheriff.
No disrespect to the presser. I'm just going to speed it up when he starts to actually talk about the case here.
This was a horrible crime that took. The police department would like to extend our condolences to all family members, friends, the University of Idaho, and the Moscow community. This was a horrible crime that took the lives of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves. This horrible crime has affected all of us, the families, the University of Idaho, our community, our country, and our officers. Agencies that are involved in this task force include Latah County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigations. As we continue our investigation, we have learned that Ethan and Xana were at a party on campus, and Madison and Kaylee were at a downtown bar. They arrived home sometime after 1:45. If anyone in our community or across our nation has any information about these times or the victims' whereabouts, please call our tip line at 208-883-7180. The facts of the case that we know right now. We know that these homicides occurred in the early morning hours of Sunday, November 13th. Around noon, Moscow officers received a call of an unconscious person. Officers discovered the bodies of Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves inside the residence on King Road. The four were stabbed with a knife, but no weapon has been located at this time. There was no sign of forced entry into the residence. Investigators are continuing to collect evidence at the scene. Investigators are working to develop a timeline of relevant events. Autopsies are taking place today on all the victims so we can continue to gather evidence and solve the crime. Investigators are working to follow up on all leads and to identify a person of interest. Based on details at the scene, we believe this was an isolated, targeted attack on our victims. We do not have a suspect at this time, and that individual is still out there. We cannot say that there's no threat to the community, and as we have stated, please stay vigilant, report any suspicious activity, and be aware of your surroundings at all times. What we don't know, the identity and location of the suspect.
I'm going to stop this for a second. It's just really crazy to go back. I mean, I haven't watched this in, what is this, almost 9 months? To go back and just really review this and reflect on it again. It doesn't feel real, because it's just been so long. And to hear, now we're going back in history. We've already been here already. We're now here, and now we're going back and looking. And what we know now, where we are now in this case to where they were, I mean, they really didn't have any clue. They had just basic evidence at that point. And it's just frightening, absolutely frightening.
The location of the knife or any clothing that was worn by the suspect. Currently, we have 25 plus investigators working this case, as well as assistance from the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Idaho State Police. We're reviewing video that has been collected, but we are asking citizens to contact us with any information you may have that will help in this investigation. Once again, we're asking anyone with a tip to call the tip line at 208-883-7180. At this time, I would like to introduce the University of Idaho President, Scott Green.
Thank you, Chief Fry. I'm Scott Green, president of.
I'm just going to go to the police investigation. I know that this gentleman's just going to talk and give his condolences. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just trying to do this for the interest of time. I just really want to hear law enforcement in this investigation. So no disrespect. I just want to, again, just speed this up for the interest of time. And I just really wanted to focus on the law enforcement investigation. I hope that's okay with all of you this evening.
Thank you.
Because that's really what we,
I'd like to have Colonel Kedrick Wills come to the podium, please.
Good afternoon.
They are really shaking.
My name is Kedrick Wills. I serve as the director of the Idaho State Police. And as we have this discussion today, I'd like to express my appreciation for your attendance here, because it's important, vitally important, that we get the information that we have out to the public. Crime knows no boundaries, and these murders have shaken us to our very core. You heard the university president as well as the chief of police talk about this small community, and it's a very close, tight-knit community. And our hearts break for the families that lost their loved ones, the University of Idaho, the Moscow community, and even within our entire state. Be assured, the Idaho State Police is firmly in support of the work that the Moscow Police Department is doing, and we are providing every resource that we can to make sure that this comes to a conclusion, and that the person or people that this are responsible are brought to justice. It's so important that you understand that this takes a team effort. This is teamwork with the university, with this Moscow City Police Department, the Latah County Sheriff's Office, the Idaho State Police, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It takes everybody to be able to do this. And it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act of getting the community the information that they need to have with making sure that we provide a case that the Latah County Prosecutor's Office can go forward with. Governor Little, Idaho's governor, has assured me that the full weight of all the resources we have within our state are available to Chief Fry and to his team. Our crime lab is also involved with processing evidence, and our law enforcement throughout the region, state and federal agencies continue to provide resources. From the Idaho State Police's perspective, we provided detectives here from this area, as well as detectives from out of the area, state police detectives, as well as patrol resources and communications assistance as well to provide for Chief Fry and his team. Following this briefing, our communications director from the Idaho State Police, Aaron Snell, if you'd raise your hand, Aaron, he will be the contact for all press media inquiries from here on out. He'll be working closely with Chief Fry and his team. And we have additional, like I said, additional patrol and investigation resources brought to bear here as well. We want to do everything we can to make sure that this is done correctly and that the people that are responsible for this are brought to justice.
Amen.
So at this time, I'm going to open it up to some questions that I'm sure you have, and we'll do the best we can to answer those for you.
Can you imagine just the adrenaline, the adrenaline that's going through your body if you're Chief Fry at this point? You have to get up and do this announcement of this horrible crime that happened. You're still in an active investigation. Everybody's coming at you with 9 million questions. You have families that have lost loved ones. You're dealing with the public. You're dealing with the community. Your blood pressure must be through the roof. And getting up and then, looking to the audience and saying, we're here to answer some questions. Your carotids must be thumping, the blood pressure in your neck. I mean, I can only imagine my head pounding, just waiting that first nervous question for the galley to ask you. And then being able to have to respond to that in a respectful way. Gosh, I would not want to be in that moment. I would not want to be in that moment. Okay, let's hear the first official question.
Hello, Chief Ray.
Hello.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
I'm Amanda Rowley with Crumb 2 News. You mentioned that...
I don't know. I mean, would this be the first official Idaho question? I mean, televised from a reporter to Chief Fry? I would say probably yeah, right? Or am I wrong? Because I don't think that he was saying anything before this.
There's an indication that it's an isolated, targeted incident, and there is an individual somewhere. Can you give us a reason as to why there's that belief there is a suspect? And can you also give a little more information on the forced entry? There's no sign of forced entry, but was the door, did it seem like any of the entries were left unlocked by any means?
I'll answer the last part there just because it's at the front end of my mind. We're not 100% sure if the door was unlocked, but there was no damage to anything and the door was still open.
Yeah, I think so
when
too,
we got
Carrie.
there.
That might have been the first official, we call it Idaho 4, the Idaho 4 question to Chief Fry on camera right there, in the press. She was the first one to ask a question. Because you got to think this is just the next day. So I'm sorry. This is when was this? Was this the next day? On the 16th. So this is 3 days later. And I don't think that Fry gave any statements. He may have. I can't remember. But I don't think he did. I think this is the first official.
And my first question.
Yeah.
If you'd like me to read.
No, I think I haven't. In these cases, we take the totality of the things that we see, and they're very dynamic, right? And they're very big, and there's a lot of information, and we try to take that information, and some of it we can't share with you, correct? But we try to take that information, we try to make the best educated decision we can. Yeah. We review that as a team.
You can tell he's so nervous.
Our detectives, along with our prosecutors, along with the university, we try to make that best decision on that. So we, at that time, believe that there was a threat. And our goal is to provide safety for this community. That's why we're bringing in the resources we're bringing. We want a close to this, and we want to do everything we can to let the people in our community know that we care. We want them to feel safe. We want them to be safe, and we're going to do everything we can to do that.
And if I could add one more question. You asked for videos or anything from the community to help put together that timeline. We obtained a copy of Twitch video.
Anything's possible, Jeff.
Of the Gonsalves family, and we're able to identify Maddie and Kaylee in those videos at a food truck ordering food. Is the police department, our investigators, aware of that video?
Exactly,
and has
Danielle.
It helped
100%.
put together that timeline?
We are aware of that video, and it has helped. It gives us a time and space where we know that two of our victims were, and that helps us a ton. And we'll continue to follow up all leads that we can and continue to gather those.
Any indication
Yeah,
of a
exactly.
party at the home that night?
And this will be the last one. Okay, I understand. Not that we know of, not at the home. We know that the other, let me get the names exactly right here. We know that Zana and Ethan were at a different party on campus.
You got to think, like, look, I can't give Fry shit for this. And I know a lot of people have given him shit like, oh, he should have show their names. Like, look, he's nervous. I mean, this is, I don't even say probably, this is the biggest case of his life. And you got to imagine all of the years that you've put in, all of the hard work you've put in. You're probably nearing your career, the end of your career. And then something so violent happens like this in your community. And this would shake you to the core, what he had to see when he went in that home and to report on that. And then they come here in front of the world, essentially the world, and start to answer questions. That is incredibly tough. I wouldn't even be able to do that. So I give him a lot of bravery to step up. I mean, I understand it's his job. I mean, you can clearly see his face is red. He's stressed. He's very stressed. But, a lot of people out there shit on Fry during this, and it's just wrong. I mean, let me put you in that situation with extreme stress. You are the leader. You're the face of this investigation right now. This is all on you. And then you have to get up and give a statement and then answer questions. A lot of questions. All right, let's keep playing through.
But that timeline will still help us if other people know about that.
Thank you.
Chief Wright, John Webb with KHQ. On September 12th, there was a vandal alert that was sent out about a potential stabbing threat on Paradise Path. Does this have any connection with what we've seen so far?
Not that we know of it, but we're following up every lead. Every piece of information we get, we are following up to ensure that nothing has gone unturned. We want to have the individual identified, who is the suspect of this eventually. So we are literally looking into every aspect of everything.
And you guys have said repeatedly that there's no threat to the public.
Yeah, I know.
We don't know who the suspect is. We don't know where he's at. How is there no threat to the public at this point?
Well, that's kind of an unknown. Like I said, we took the information that we had at the time, but we do need to be aware the individual is still.
I mean, PK has a great point. He says he probably never even heard those names before or know how to pronounce the names. Now they're probably names that he will never forget. I mean, in my circle of friends, I've never had a Kaylee or a Maddie or a Xana. I mean, come on. A Xana, it's a beautiful name. They're all beautiful names, but I've never heard those names before. Ethan, I don't know many Ethans. I don't even think I know an Ethan at all. So yeah, and that's why he said, let me just get these right. I want to get these right. Get it right for the record. Get it right for the press. This is an extreme moment of stress. There's so much stress in this guy right now. So much on his shoulders.
Still out there, right? We need to be vigilant. We need to watch out for our neighbors. We're a community policing community. We've said that for years, and it's a community that watches out for each other. We need to continue to do that until we can close this off and make an arrest.
Yeah, I know, right?
Why has there been such limited information over the past couple of days? I mean, we're almost 4 days into this. Why has it been so limited?
Yeah, it's a difficult. We have a lot of information coming in. And, we have tried to push out some information through press releases. But the reality is, I probably should have been standing here a day or so ago, but I'm here now. We're going to continue to be here. We're going to continue to give you the information we can. We care about this community. I care about this community. I've worked here for 27 years.
27
years. I want this community to be the safest community around. So
The mayor's called it a crime of passion. Is there any indication that that's true?
we're looking into every aspect of this. I'm not going to stipulate whether it's one thing or another. We're going to continue to investigate until evidence will get that. So
One last question, if I could, Chief. Have we looked at any boyfriends or any ex-boyfriends, any spouses as a potential suspect?
I will tell you, we are looking at everyone. Every tip we get, every lead we get, there's no one that we're not going to talk to. There's no one we're not going to interview. There's no one that we're not going to look into. And we're going to do our due diligence.
Susie,
we're going to make sure that nothing goes unturned. And that we do everything we can with the assistance of all the resources we have to get a final answer.
Okay, thanks, Chief Fry.
So there were, sorry, I'm Emma Epperly with this Books Review. Hi. So there were other roommates who lived at that residence. Were the roommates home at the time of the attack?
There was other people home at that time, but we're not just focusing just on them. We're focusing on it.
I don't remember hearing that, right away. I heard that kind of like weeks after, about Bethany and Dylan, from what I remember. And then when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, there were other people home. And automatically, what did you go to? Well, they had to have been involved. It was them, I bet you this. I mean, there was a lot of that going on. Still is a lot of that going on.
Everybody that may be coming and going from that residence.
So since they were home, was it a hostage situation?
No, it was not.
And then they didn't call it into police. So were they injured?
They were not injured. But like I said, we're still following up with everybody that could have been in that area.
And how can you say it's a targeted attack if you don't have a suspect?
Like I said, we take the totality of the situation. We try to make the best bit of information we can with everything that comes in. And then we make our decision off of that. So at this time, I'm not going to expand upon that. But like I've said, we do have a suspect out somewhere, and we are looking for that individual to solve this.
Hi, Rachel Sun, Northwest Public Broadcasting. I just want to clarify
Remember
something
when we
you said
wore masks?
earlier. Over the past couple of days, the information that we've been getting is there is not a threat to the public.
Yeah.
And earlier I heard you say you can't be sure that there is no threat. I just want to
Remember when we
clarify
wore
what,
masks? Wow.
your stance is on that at this time.
That's crazy.
So we still believe it's a targeted attack. But the reality is there's still a person out there who committed 4 horrible, horrible crimes. So I think we got to go back to there is a threat out there still, possibly. We don't know. We don't believe it's going to be to anybody else. But we all have to be aware of our surroundings and make sure that we're watching out for each other.
Yeah.
Okay. And then one other follow-up. I know you said when the call came in, it was for an unconscious
It's November
person,
16th,
and also that was a
Jeff.
stabbing.
So 3
It
days
seems,
after.
just from an outside perspective looking in, like that would be not the first thing a person calling in would think.
You're right. But the report that we got was that it was an unconscious individual. It wasn't until
Thank you for the 50 upvotes. That's amazing. Thank you.
Went in to do.
Hopefully we can get over the 100
100
mark tonight. That would be great.
We found the scene that we found.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Heather Roberts with ABC News. Just to follow up on what she asked. So the other 2 roommates.
I'll go back. Let's see what. Type in the chat. I'd love to hear, because I was kind of picking up on a couple things too. Lady P, type in the chat what you're trying to get at, what he just said. Why don't you type that? I'm going to back up a little bit so we can listen again, because I know I was talking a little bit and I apologize. But type what you want us to listen for, and then we'll do that. Yeah, still wearing. Yeah, I think you're always going to wear a mask in the hospital now. Yeah. Yeah, lady, type that and we'll go back and listen because I apologize. I was talking, but we'll wait for her chat to come through. I'm gonna open up the chat a little bit more so it's just a little easier to chat. Give me like 2 seconds. I'll take off the delay because we don't have too many people in here tonight, but that's okay. We can still hang out. Let's get rid of this. And then if it heats up, I'll put it back on. We'll do that for now. Open it up so everybody can chat easier. So supposed to stop the video. If you're gonna talk, sorry. Please stop the video if you're going to talk. Sorry, we can't hear. Right. I wonder if Bryan ever Googled how to stab. He said, all right, let's see. Lady P says he said something about one person basically and something else. Yeah, I heard that as well too. And that might be just a tactic at this point because, to put out there and just kind of ease the community a little bit and just so they don't think multiple people are out there because really at this point they didn't know. So probably by default, you just say one person, but we'll go back and listen again. All right, let's listen to this.
There's still a person out there who committed 4 horrible crimes. So I think we got to go back to there is a threat out there still, possibly. We don't know. We don't believe it's going to be to anybody else, but we all have to be aware of our surroundings and make sure that we're watching out for each other.
Okay, and then one other follow-up. I know you said when the call came in, it was for an unconscious person, and also that was a stabbing. It seems.
Yeah, and you got to think though too. Carrie says, I believe they were just as lost as we were. I mean, figure this: 3 days have gone by, 4 horrible murders. What did they say? They got like over 10,000 tips. So immediately when that happens, you put the tip line up, you're getting 1 million phone calls. You know what I mean? It's just hitting and you're getting all this information, and who knows? 10,000 tips? Maybe someone did know something. Maybe they did have a general idea. We don't know, but we're going to find out at trial. I just still think it's very, very interesting looking at that first news press conference that not the press conference, the news report that I played very first. The neighbor's camera was already gone. They had collected for evidence already. So they already had that video. They already had the video of the white Elantra pulling down that street. And that was the very next day, that camera already.
Just from an outside perspective looking in, like that would be not the first thing a person calling in would think.
You're right. But the report that we got was
exactly, Brad.
An unconscious individual.
Yep, good point.
It wasn't until our officers arrived on scene, went in to do.
Okay, let's back this up because this is important.
Came in, it was for an unconscious person, and also that was a stabbing. It seems just from an outside perspective looking in, like that would be not the first thing a person calling in would think.
You're right. But the report that we got was that it was an unconscious individual. It wasn't until our officers arrived on scene, went in to do caregiving check on the individual who was unconscious that we found the scene that we found.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Heather Roberts with ABC News. Just to follow up on what she asked. So the other 2 roommates were there at the time of the attack?
All the information that we have from our investigation is that, yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt.
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. Would have we loved for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place. So that's why we're investigating everything still to try to pull all the pieces together.
Were they one of the people, were they the 911 caller?
At this point in time, I'm not going to divulge who our 911 caller is, just because I want to keep the integrity of the investigation at this point. Okay.
Okay. And last question, are you able to tell whether the same weapon was used on all 4 victims?
That's why we're having the autopsies done. The autopsy will confirm that and hopefully collect some evidence for us, even from those. That's why you do the autopsies is to try to be thorough and try to gather more. So we'll leave that would probably be something that would come out later.
Excuse me, Derek Shug, Fox News Digital. Was there anything missing in the home, or were the purses still there?
Yeah, he was.
Any
Jeff,
robbery attempt, anything like that?
Nothing that we have identified. And I'm going to take about 2 more questions. All right.
Hi, I'm Tim with the Daily Evergreen. I was just wondering, were the 2 other individuals present at the home when police responded at noon?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right, Carrie.
Chief, if you don't mind elaborating a bit more on those 2 people. Was it 2 people? What have those people shared about the circumstances of that night, what they saw or didn't see?
Well, I'm not going to go into what they shared that night. Obviously, that's part of our investigation. That's part of the information that we're trying to build our complete story with. So at that, as far as that goes, we're not going to go any further into what they know and what they don't know.
How many were there?
We believe 2.
It drives me crazy too.
The social media accounts of all the different victims, and do you? We understand that one may have had an account linked to her Instagram account. Have you looked into those accounts? Have you seen any sort of threats made to any of the individuals?
So we are looking at all resources. You know, we got, like I said, the Federal Bureau of Investigation helping us. We got our detectives, our forensic detectives looking into that. We're trying to pull this whole picture. We're looking at everything that we can look at, social media, etc. So to answer your question, yes, we are.
Were the victims all found in one part of the house?
I'm not going to divulge that either. That's part of our investigation. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and close this off. But if you'd like to, if you have any questions for the university, we'll open that up at this point in time.
Okay, I'm gonna go because I just wanted to hear Fry talk. No disrespect to the university, no disrespect to the rest of this press conference, but for the interest of time, that's really what we came here for. We wanted to hear Chief Fry speak, get a little bit of refresher as to how he was doing at that time and the questions that were asked. So I'm going to leave this press conference here. Again, no disrespect in any way to the process, but again, we wanted to just see what Fry had to say at that point. Okay, so we're going to leave the press conference there. And I found another video from November 19th, and it's from CREM 2, which did amazing reporting during this whole case so far. And this is going to give us an idea of the in-depth look at the first few days of the investigation. All right, let's take this away from CREM 2. And again, these are videos that I went back and really looked through the archives, things that I haven't seen people play yet. And I really wanted to focus in on that and find videos that we haven't had a chance to maybe look at. And again, if you have, then that's amazing. I personally have not seen this yet, and I'm really excited to watch fully through it. I skipped through it a little bit today to get some context, but CREM 2, amazing job reporting on the Idaho case. I'm gonna kill the sound here, just so I don't get whacked with a. I'm gonna just copyright. All right, let's play that. This is a great.
I've been here in Moscow on scene since about 3 p.m. Since I've been here, I've watched Moscow police cars come in and out of this neighborhood where officials found 4 people dead.
I mean, they were really the first reporting. And there is that iconic picture. I mean, I couldn't even have paused it even better. And we saw that video from the first day when that first report of the video that I played in the very, very beginning, the 2-minute video. And it shows that camera has already been taken into evidence. They already had it. They were already processing it. And to see the white Hyundai Elantra drive by that camera. And they couldn't put all the puzzle pieces together yet. but eventually they do. And then they all get led up to Bryan C. Kohberger. Wow. It's just crazy. Crazy to look back and think and reflect and review all of this.
Neighbors say they began noticing police cars flood the area around 12 p.m. today.
Thank you,
Moscow
Danielle. I
police say
appreciate
they
you.
responded to a call here on King Road.
We're going to do more. We're going to go back. And this is the review and reflect now. Review and reflect. And there will be quite a few parts to this. And we're going to go through it, through the investigation, a couple weeks or a couple months at a time. Just like we did the initial, when you all were here in April, when we did the first looking back series, that 7-part series, and us being the originators of that, coming and enjoying that content and going back and looking where we were at that specific point in the case. And now we can take ourselves all the way up to modern day, and I plan on doing that with all of you. So let's keep playing through this.
For an unconscious individual. Upon further investigation, officials found 4 people dead.
Yeah,
While police
I wonder
investigated the
that too.
scene, the University of Idaho
Good point.
enacted a shelter-in-place alert as university officials reported a homicide
Thank
near
you, Sam.
campus. As we've stated, that alert is lifted at this time. Neighbors say most people living in this area are a part of U of I Greek life or are students, but we do not know the identities of those involved or who lives at the residence. Officials are investigating. This is a very much developing situation, and we will continue to stay on the grounds until we have more information to report back to you. Until then, in Moscow, Janelle Finch, Creme 2 News.
I'm going to turn this off just for the interest of not getting a copyright strike. It takes us to Monday.
So police still have this house here near University of Idaho taped off. This right here is where officers found 4 bodies yesterday. We now know the names of those 4 students. They were 20-year-old Ethan Chapin from Conway, Washington, 21-year-old Madison Mogan from Coeur d'Alene, 21-year-old Kaylee Goncalves from Rathdrum, Idaho, and 20-year-old Dana Kernodle from Avondale, Arizona, and they were all University of Idaho students. Here's a breakdown of the timeline from what we know so far. Around 1 p.m., we heard reports of a homicide investigation near the college campus. An hour later, the school put out an alert on social media. It said Moscow PD is investigating a homicide on King Road. They asked the community to stay away from the area and shelter in place as a precaution. Around 3 in the afternoon, Creme 2 arrived in Moscow. Neighbors said most people living in this area are a part of U of I Greek life or students. At around 5 in the evening, the Moscow Police Department confirmed they had found 4 people dead, but it wasn't until late last night that they confirmed those victims were students. The university also said Moscow police do not think there's any
garbage. There's that dumpster. And I'm sure there was a lot of evidence collected in and around that dumpster. Wow, this is blowing me away to go back. I mean, I haven't seen this video, and this is amazing to get some different perspectives of things that were going on leading up to where we are now. And this is all still very, very it's just crazy to go back and look at all this.
Active threat at the moment as they continue their investigation. Classes for University of Idaho students are canceled for the day. They say they will resume classes tomorrow. In Moscow, Nicole Hernandez, Creme 2 News.
Moscow police responded to King Road for a call about an unconscious person Sunday afternoon. When police arrived, they found the 4 deceased students inside the home. This morning, the city of Moscow and University of Idaho.
Yeah, Jeff, if you go back to the very beginning of the stream, I believe I found the very first report on this case, and it was actually Creme 2. It was Creme 2. You can watch that video at the very beginning of the stream, because they actually came in with breaking news.
Identified.
And they're local. They're right there.
All 4 U of I students. Freshman Ethan Chapin of Conway, Washington, was a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity. Zana Kernodle, a junior from Post Falls, was a member of the Pi Beta Phi sorority. Madison Mogan was a senior from Coeur d'Alene, and Kaylee Goncalves was a senior from Rathdrum.
This is a pretty traumatic situation for our campus community.
Dean of Students Blaine Eccles says news of the suspected homicide shocked the Vandal community.
This is rocking their world. Many of them come from small communities where things like this have never happened.
He says drop-in counseling is available to students at any time. But he recognizes that many students have already returned home early for the upcoming holiday.
People need to navigate through this situation in the way that best suits them. If students need to go home, be closer with their families, want to return home, I support them in doing that. We're going to support them in doing that.
Support for U of I.
You don't think that the timing of all this was planned out as well? You know what, 10 days, 11 days from Thanksgiving, knowing that, all the students would be out just in a couple of days to get back for that Thanksgiving holiday. You would have so much confusion over the first 3 to 5 days. And then that would give, it would just give enough time to get away and basically hide. I mean, it's perfectly planned out.
Goes beyond the university campus. Businesses throughout the city of Moscow are offering prayers and thoughts for the Vandal community. And because Moscow is a tight-knit community with a strong relationship with the university, this response isn't a surprise to Mayor Art Bettage.
I feel very badly for them, and not just for the victims, but everybody else who's a friend and associate with those people.
He told me he was shocked by the news about what he's calling a senseless act of violence.
This is stuff that shouldn't happen, especially in a small, quiet town like Moscow is, where we're heavily involved with the university. And these are things that affect not just town, but the university, the students, lends everybody to a sense of insecurity about what's going on here and why. And it's a very tragic and sad situation all around.
I'll send the link.
In speaking with Kaylee Gonzalez's mother and sister, they tell me Kaylee was a strong and passionate go-getter. She even already had a job lined up in the tech industry after graduation. Kaylee was one of 5 Gonzalez's children. She graduated from Lake City High School, the same school as Maddie Mogan, another victim. Kaylee's family says the two were especially close, and Maddie was a part of their family as well. Kaylee's oldest sister, Olivia, shared a statement on behalf of the Gonzalez family. It reads in part, "Kaylee was, is, and always will be our defender and protector. She is tough and fair, the ultimate middle child. She did absolutely everything she set her mind to.
There you go,
She
Jeff.
didn't hold back on love, fights, or life. Kaylee was the ultimate go-getter and constantly wanted an adventure." We still have a lot of questions about what happened. Also looking for answers.
Again, I think that is, from what I can research, and listen, I'm not 100% correct on it, but from what I can research, and in my opinion, that first video I showed from CREM 2 was the first official report on Idaho 4. And that's, believe, is that video that I just dropped the link.
Answers is Kaylee's family. Kaylee's sister, Olivia, asked the public to stop spreading rumors about what happened and wait for the facts from police. We are continuing to ask our own questions and will continue to bring you updates as we get them. In the studio, Janelle Finch, CREM 2 News.
Ethan, and I just want to thank everybody for coming into the chat tonight. You all been great so far, and again, it's good to go back where, like I was saying in the beginning of the stream, where we've were and where we are now, and review and reflect and go back and take in this information again and process it through all of what we've gone through in the last 9 months, and being able to put some more pieces back together, or maybe recall something that you may have forgot, because I'm starting to remember a lot of things that I did forget when we go back and look at this. So it's always good to go back, review, and reflect, and that's what I'm calling this series. We had the first series that we started here back in April, the looking back, but now this one is called Review and Reflect. All right, let's keep going.
Chapin, his brother and sister, all grew up here together. They went to school here together, and together they enrolled at the University of Idaho. 3 inseparable siblings, now torn apart.
You just couldn't ask for better kids.
Awful.
Dave Hayton considered Ethan Chapin family, all the Chapin kids actually. He and his wife watched them grow up in their Conway neighborhood. They'd come over for fudgesicles from the basement freezer. When the couple heard what happened, they were crushed.
She's crying. And she says, Ethan's been murdered. Yeah. I just couldn't, you just can't get your head around it.
All 3 siblings attended the Conway School before moving on to Mount Vernon High, where Ethan played on the basketball team and graduated last year. All three later decided to attend the University of Idaho. Ethan and his brother were members of the same fraternity.
I know I didn't sleep a lot last night. I'm just thinking of them.
Heartbreaking.
We had some good times together.
The Haytons treated the kids like grandchildren. The couple shared these photos from Ethan's mom's Instagram page. This one taken just a few weeks ago at Parents' Weekend. Dave recalls Ethan as smart, athletic, and always respectful. He says all three were great kids, and having one of them gone is inconceivable.
I remember last night I woke up several times and I think, gee, I wish somebody would just tell me this is a bad dream. But unfortunately, it's not a bad dream. It's a reality.
Still no word as to a potential motive in these killings, no word as to a potential suspect. However, authorities in Idaho do say that there is no threat to the public. In Conway, Washington, Eric Wilkinson for KREM 2 News.
We've watched this memorial grow all day long. Students dropping off flowers and stuffed animals, remembering the 4 young lives that were lost. And there's still a lot of unanswered questions tonight, like how this happened and why.
Like, it's all just shocking and scary. Like, I never would have thought that this would have happened here.
Tonight, yellow crime tape still surrounds the house where 4 young college students were found dead over the weekend, a crime shocking the University of Idaho community. Classes were canceled today, and some students have decided to go on Thanksgiving break early.
A lot of people left last night, and then we were like, I know we were like one of the only ones who actually stayed here last night. My mom has called me every single hour for since 7 a.m. this morning. So yeah, they want me to come home if I don't feel safe.
Moscow police have not said much about
Let's
what
go back.
exactly.
Whoa.
Only ones who actually stayed here last night. My mom has called me every single hour for since 7 a.m. this morning.
There's your camera. Odd. Now I'm just wondering when that camera was collected, because in that first initial video we saw it gone. So this probably is very, very early. Interesting.
Morning. So yeah, they want me to come home if I don't feel safe.
Moscow.
They had that camera collected within the first couple of days. They had that camera. Now I want to know when the time was of this. Did they, it's interesting.
My mom has called me every single hour for
camera.
since 7 a.m. this morning. So yeah, they want me to come home if I don't feel safe.
Moscow police have not said much about what.
Oh, that's very true too. Maybe they took it and got another one from Amazon just to have, knowing what's going on in the neighborhood. Yeah, I didn't see it in his hand, but we did see it. If you watch that video, Jeff, the link that I dropped, watch the video, you can see them go up to the door and you can see the light, the camera is gone already. And that was fresh on the first day of the investigation.
Exactly happened, but they have released the names of the victims. 2 of them, Zana Kernodle, a junior from Post Falls, and Madison Mogan, a senior from Coeur d'Alene, were servers at the Mad Greek restaurant in downtown Moscow. The restaurant posted on Facebook saying the 2 brought so much joy to the restaurant and all they encountered. Mad Greek is now closed, giving staff time to grieve along with the rest of the community.
And the university is planning a vigil for the victims. That's taking place at 5 p.m. on Wednesday on the lawn outside the administration building. In Moscow, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
All right, I'm just going to turn this off in the interest of music.
Moscow Police Department hasn't added any new information since they released a press release this morning about the homicide investigation. But a few hours ago, we did speak with the Latah County coroner. Kathy Mabbitt is calling all four deaths homicides and that the cause of death is likely a stabbing. But we won't know that for certain until the autopsy report comes back and she can make that official ruling. Now, to take that a step further, Latah County contracts its autopsies out to the Spokane County Medical Examiner. And I confirmed this afternoon that Spokane County is in fact conducting the autopsies on the 4 University of Idaho students. Now, the Spokane County spokesperson says the medical examiner has not yet started those autopsies. Once they are done, the medical examiner will forward her recommended findings to the Latah County coroner. And the Moscow Police Department or the Latah County coroner will release the official ruling. Now, this afternoon, when we talked to the coroner, she described a gruesome crime scene.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think these are videos that I found that haven't really been watched a lot on streams. And like I said, Creme 2 did amazing reporting because they're right there. They're right in that area. And they did an amazing job of the reporting. So I appreciate that, Carrie. And again, it's good to go back, reflect and review and reflect and go over this knowing what we know now. And we see different things. We're going to see different things as you go back and look.
Well, there was a lot of blood. It was a very sad scene.
Mabit adds that she does not believe the toxicology report on each of the 4 University of Idaho students will be relevant to the manner or cause of death. Now, Mabit has been the county coroner for 16 years in Latah County. She says in that time, there have been at least 2 other multiple homicide scenes that she's been involved in. But she says this current homicide investigation is the only one she's been to where there are 4 people at one scene. Now, we are continuing to press local authorities like the Moscow Police Department, as well as the Latah County prosecutor. I have made multiple calls into their offices yesterday and today, have not got a call returned from either agencies. Now, we know there are University of Idaho students, their families, and the greater Moscow community, many of which are still concerned for their safety, even though the police department says there is no active threat to the community. So that is why we remain here in Moscow pressing for answers. And once we do get those, we'll continue to keep you updated. Reporting in Moscow, Amanda Rowley, Creme 2 News.
2 of the 4 University of Idaho students who died on Sunday, Xana and Maddie, both worked here at Mad Creek Restaurant. The restaurant has closed its doors for now, and they have also put out a memorial for all 4 of those students.
Tucked inside a Main Street restaurant bench is a memorial catching the community's attention, including Annalise Mitchell.
Yeah.
She's a sophomore at University of Idaho.
I just wanted to kind of take a moment to remember them.
Annalise is one of many students struggling to process the death of 4 fellow classmates.
It's been surreal, devastating, horrific, honestly.
Annalise knew the 4 students from the university's Greek life.
When I did talk to them, they were just nothing but kind and nothing but bright and positive, and they definitely made an impact on everyone that they've met.
Now, as classes resume today, many students are leaving campus.
People can't even focus on their schoolwork. Like my sisters and I, we've tried to do our homework and it's not possible.
Annalise says for her friends that are still here, she's just being supportive.
Nothing will be the same. At least we're all here for each other and just remembering.
But that community doesn't take away the pain.
Just angry, honestly, because again, it's 4 people. It's 4 people that have touched so many lives and have touched my friends, and to see them in such grief and suffering, it just makes me angry.
In Moscow, Nicole Hernandez, Creme 2 News.
It's terrible.
It's not something you ever expect to hear.
Through the tears and shock, Jim and Stacy Chapin described the moment they found out their son Ethan was gone.
It's not a call that you think that you're going to have to speak with the funeral home directors and the FBI and have it hit national news.
Earlier this week, Moscow police identified Chapin as one of the 4 victims killed in the home just off campus. Stacy and Jim said their son was staying with his girlfriend at the house, who was also killed, Xana Kernodle. So far, police haven't released many details about the investigation, and as questions mount, the Chapins say they wanted to make sure Ethan's story was told.
It's important for us to get Ethan's story out. We don't really want anybody else representing him. And it's hard to have people speaking on his behalf. So we think it's best for us to do this.
He's the kind of kid that everybody wanted to be around. You know, he was just a good kid.
He's a good kid.
That
kind to all.
Didn't deserve what happened.
No.
They say Ethan was a triplet. He and his siblings were extremely close. In fact, they all decided to attend the University of Idaho. Jim says Ethan was an athletic kid who played club soccer and refereed youth sports. His smile, he says, lit up a room, and he made friends wherever he went. They had just spent last weekend at the university for Parents' Weekend.
And as we pulled out of Moscow, we literally were like, we've done it. We've literally done it as parents. We've created 3 incredible humans that will go on and have something great to offer to this world. Honestly, all 3 of them.
A week later, as they grapple with this horrific loss, they say they're determined to keep moving forward for Ethan.
But we will not.
People don't realize that, you know, and I've been through this with my best friend when he was murdered in 1994, that when a murder happens in a family, that family stops. What their life was will never be again. And then just having to deal with all of those emotions the rest of their life. You know, you go through grieving, you go through regret, you know, couples, marriages end, couples separate, people divorce, family members get mad at each other. You know, it's awful. It's just like, you know, when there's a death in the family, it brings out all that raw emotion in everybody, you know, and I've seen it at funerals where, you know, one side's arguing with the other and someone's blaming this person and this and that. It's just, it's crazy. You know, it's very, very crazy. It's a lot of raw emotion and it's a lot to process. I don't have children, so I would never be able to understand the loss of a child, especially to this way. I mean, I would never, ever wish that upon anybody or ever want to go through that type of incident. It's crazy. It's very sad. You know, Ethan's father and mother will never be the same. They're going to look like this the rest of their lives now. How you're seeing their faces now, it's going to be very hard for them to smile. It's awful. It's awful.
Let this sink us or sink our kids. Because if anything, they have to go on and shine Ethan's bright light on their own.
You're right, Sam. I'm just going to turn this off just for the interest of not getting a copyright strike. Okay. Oh, what did I do? Oh boy. Sorry, let me go back up here.
Out for each other. Meantime, we found this video from a Moscow food truck that's from early Sunday morning. It shows 2 of the students, Kaylee and Maddie, ordering food around 1:40 a.m. This is one of the last times they were seen. Moscow police say this video is helping investigators recreate a timeline of events from that night.
And it has helped. It gives us a time and space where we know that 2 of our victims were, and that helps us a ton, and we'll continue to follow up all leads that we can.
The family of Kaylee Gonsalves have seen the video and agreed to let us publish it. They identified Maddie Mogan wearing the long black jacket and Kaylee, who is with her, in the white sweatshirt.
It's normally a place where everyone feels really safe.
Joseph Woodall is the manager of the grub truck. He is seen in the video working the cash register, taking the girl's order. This afternoon, he described their interaction with me.
One of the blondes was just a little bit more cheery and kind of bouncing around a little bit more. And then one was like standing there and doing the hello, how are you? And goes through the interactions. And normally that's pretty normal. In most of our groups, there's people that are more energetic and people that are managing the energetic people.
Joseph told me he felt incredibly sad when he learned the news about the girls he had just seen the other night.
Hope they find the person. Hope they get the person.
Take this down.
For mood at tonight's game, quite a few empty seats in the student section as well. A lot of them have gone home early for Thanksgiving break, but we talked to students that decided to stick around. They were at tonight's game and they told us they were happy the university didn't cancel this, gave them a chance to see some of their friends, classmates, and somewhat sense of normalcy. A lot of them telling us they won't feel entirely safe on campus until this murderer is caught.
Basketball fans, at this time, we ask that you please stand and join us in a moment of silence for the 4 University of Idaho students that were tragically taken from us on Sunday.
The names of the 4 students found murdered inside a home near campus were read aloud before tonight's game. The Moscow community still in shock.
Definitely like a ghost town here. Weird seeing everyone just pack up and leave.
Like many other students, Jessica Jacobs and Asha Cummings haven't been going to class and say they don't feel as safe alone or on campus as they did a week ago.
The only reason we're still here is because we had a little trip planned going opposite of our homes, but we've been staying together every night, trying to stay as safe as we can, but we definitely aren't going to go home early.
A question of safety is on everyone's mind right now.
During a press conference this afternoon, University of Idaho officials said they've increased campus patrols and students can request a security escort across campus day or night. The university is also excusing all absences.
That if they want to leave and go home now, they absolutely can. We're going to support them in doing so.
Classes were canceled the day after the 4 bodies were found, but resumed on Tuesday. School officials say some students want to keep their minds occupied.
They gain comfort in being around their other students. They gain comfort from interacting and staying busy with their faculty.
I'm happy they're still doing it, and we're here to support our teams, so we're happy to be here. Lucky that we still get to come to this and feel safe here.
And the university has postponed a candlelight vigil until after Thanksgiving break in order to give as many students that want to attend the opportunity to. That's scheduled for sometime on November 30th. In Moscow, Kyle Simchuk, KREM 2 News.
Examiner finished the autopsies yesterday and sent them over to the Latah County coroner. With that, the coroner sent out this. You can see here at the bottom of the document, cause of death, homicide, murder, and manner of death is stabbing. Moscow PD says whoever did this used a large knife. We also learned yesterday Idaho State Police say investigators think the killer got in the house through the sliding glass door. ISP says the forensic team is taking another look at the house to make sure they didn't miss any details.
We intend to come out and solicit information from the public if they are within certain areas that we believe are of interest for this investigation. And so hopefully today or early tomorrow, we will come out with a map where the victims were at specific times during the night and ultimately ending at their residence.
The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit is now helping in the investigation. They do crime analysis, create suspect profiles, and help with interview strategies. ISP says an FBI command vehicle is on its way to bring Moscow up more resources. As for the other 2 roommates who were home during the attack, ISP says they are cooperating with investigators. They are not suspects or persons of interest as of now, but ISP says nobody is clear.
Lone Star says, imagine not feeling safe at your college campus. I was a drunk idiot in college. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. It's just a very senseless situation.
The investigation yet. In the newsroom, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Earlier this evening, the University of Idaho released a statement urging students to be vigilant. For those that are still here, security will increase over this weekend. Moscow police say patrols have also ramped up around the community. The school district says patrols will monitor the area around its schools. Idaho State Patrol is helping with this extra police presence. People I spoke with in the community today are less concerned about their own safety and more focused on making sure the suspect or suspects are found.
Let me just get to this really quick. Consuela says, I'm glad you brought this back, Brian. Sad, yes. I can only imagine all the pain for the people and especially the parents. It affected me in New Mexico, USA. Absolutely. I mean, we've followed this case for almost 9 months. You know, we're coming up close to a year, and you know, I was talking. If you're just getting in here, you know, we originally did this back in April. That was a catalyst for many other streams to do their kind of looking back. And I thought this would just be a great time right now to review and reflect, you know, of what we know now, what we didn't know then, and then, you know, with the information we have now, and then to look back and maybe see some things that are new to us. Like we saw the camera positions of that 111, the house that was just in front of 1122 King Road, 1112. And we saw the camera position of where that camera was, and it was taken down, and trying to figure out, we saw another video where it was back up, so we were just trying to figure out that timeline as well too. They already had that camera on the first day. They were already processing that camera. So yeah, it's always good to go back, review, and reflect.
In your 70 years of living in this area, would you ever have thought that something like that could happen?
No, really. No.
I definitely was shocked and a little scared, but at the same time, I do have a feeling that the person who did this was somebody that they knew. And so I wasn't personally afraid.
This morning, I noticed quite a few more law enforcement just out and about. I'm really grateful for them.
People say they're thankful Moscow PD are calling on the necessary agencies to help protect the community and figure out what exactly happened on Sunday. In a press conference yesterday, we learned from the Moscow Police Chief, James Fry, that the department has called on 25 plus investigators, the state police, and FBI to assist in solving this case. The Moscow Police Department maintains that this was a targeted attack. For that reason, the people I spoke to say they don't personally feel a threat in the community. But like said, the University of Idaho is reminding people here to remain vigilant and provide any and all information you can to Moscow police. In Moscow, Janelle Finch, Crime 2 News.
People across the country want to know what happened inside this home and why. For those living in Moscow, there's still a lot of fear and uncertainty. And how could there not be? 4 young college students were stabbed to death, and their killer still hasn't been caught. Ever since the yellow crime tape went up, the Moscow Police Department has faced scrutiny for not providing as much information about the case as some would like to know.
There's some things that only the people that were at that scene would know. And so you definitely don't want to release that information to the public.
Gary Jenkins is the former chief of Pullman Police and now serves in that role for the WSU Police Department. He says sharing details is a balancing act, keeping people safe and informed without compromising the investigation.
Just trying to make sure that when detectives go out and interview people, it's based on what they know, not what they've heard on the news.
The University of Idaho told students this week they could go home early for Thanksgiving break if they didn't feel safe around campus, and many already have.
Again, I tried to look for videos that maybe we have not seen yet. A lot of the Creme 2 videos didn't really get as much play because everybody went to mainstream media. So I wanted to go back and look at their perspective. I mean, they're right in and around that area. So they were really the first local team that was on scene there. And they've done these amazing montages to really go back and look through. Montage.
And says that could pose a challenge for detectives trying to interview witnesses. It was for him during the hazing death of Sam Martinez, which also occurred right before Thanksgiving break in 2019.
Most of the witnesses left town, and that's the type of investigation you need to have a one-on-one in-person interview. And so
yeah,
it does,
Daniel, I hope you're feeling better.
Definitely complicate
you're a rock star there. You're hanging
that
out.
Investigation.
Jenkins says the answers all of us want could take time.
They're trying to juggle a lot of balls in the air right now, particularly with 4 victims. It's going to be a very complex crime scene. It's going
I don't know why that just made me laugh, but it just made me laugh. I'm sorry.
A complex investigation.
New details are emerging in the stabbing deaths of 4 University of Idaho students. Tonight, the Latah County coroner says the 4 students were likely asleep. Some had defensive wounds, and each victim was stabbed multiple times. Authorities found no sign of sexual assault. Moscow police say at this point in the investigation, they do not believe the 2 surviving roommates or the man seen standing near a local food truck were involved in the murders. Police also addressed rumors swirling online claiming the victims were gagged and tied, saying those are not accurate, and the identity of the 911 caller has not been released. Detectives say they've received nearly 500 tips, which are being processed, investigated, and cleared. 38 people who may have information about the murders have been interviewed. The whereabouts of the killer and the knife used are still unknown. Detectives seized the contents of 3 dumpsters on King Road to look for evidence. Police have also gone to local businesses to see if anyone recently purchased a fixed-blade knife. Anyone who saw something suspicious, has video surveillance, or can provide relevant information about the murders is asked to call the Moscow Police Department.
Investigators are still trying to piece together where the 4
Susan Wood with a $9.99 super sticker. It's the #1 fan. Well, thank you, Susan. We appreciate you. And listen, we're your number one fan. Thank you so much.
Cash, homie.
Thank you so much. All right, let's keep playing through here. I appreciate you. Thank you.
4 University of Idaho students went the night before they were found in their Moscow home, stabbed to death. Investigators are hoping the map released today will provide additional tips from the community. The map details the night of Saturday, November 12th into the early hours of Sunday, November 13th.
Remember this? All the maps
It highlights locations and approximate times when Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogan were in downtown Moscow, while Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were at the Sigma Chi house. Investigators believe Madison and Kaylee were at the Corner Club on Saturday from 8 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. Sunday. Then they were at the Grub Truck on Main Street at 1:40 a.m. 5 minutes later, the map says they returned to their home on King Road. I drove that route this afternoon, starting at 4th and Main and ending at the King Road home. With some light traffic on the road, I arrived at the house in about 3 minutes. This suggests it's reasonable to believe Madison and Kaylee traveled by car from the food truck, but that detail has not been confirmed by police. Investigators also say Ethan and Xana were at a party at Sigma Chi from 8 to 9 p.m., then returned to the home on King Road at 1:45 a.m. The fraternity is a short 3-minute walk from the house, but still, there is a 5-hour gap on their location between the party and arriving at home. Investigators hope someone might remember being at or near the locations they've identified around the same time and potentially saw something suspicious or relevant to the investigation. Police are asking those people to call the tip line or email with that information. This is all good information, but it brings up even more questions, such as, did investigators use the students' cell phones?
Did you ever? I'm trying to find that video, but there's a video out there that someone caught at like the very early hours of the investigation, just behind the house, what looks like a white Hyundai Elantra going by. Did anybody ever see that video? I've been trying to find it. I can't find it. And it's eerie. It's really, really eerie.
To identify the locations and times on this map. Did Madison and Kylie walk or drive or get a ride back to the home? And did Xana and Ethan spend only 1 hour at the Sigma Chi fraternity? I have several calls into Idaho State Police and other local authorities working this investigation. I have not heard back, but we will continue to press for answers as this story develops. Reporting in Moscow, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Okay, that's going to end this video here. How's everybody hanging in? You all good? Just let me know. Type a 1 in the chat if you're good. Type a 1 in the chat if you're good. Let's take a little pause. We're going to stretch a little bit. Let's stretch it out. Oh, those are good stretches. Hurt my back. Put a 1 in the chat if you're feeling good. All right, let's stretch. We'll wait for some ones to come through. We'll see how everybody's feeling. We're going to go up and check our poll here for a minute. Do you want cameras in the courtroom? 98% of you, 106 votes, yes. Only 2% say no. Okay, so we're at about halfway through the stream. Do you want me to keep going? Because I have more videos. If you want me to keep going, type a 2 in the chat. Type a 2. Type a 2 in the chat if you want me to keep going, and we'll keep going. I have another video that now we'll get to see the mainstream media perspective of this. If you want me to keep going, all right, we're going to keep going here. I got some nice 2s coming up. Great. Awesome. Thank you for interacting. 2, I was painting and missed some of the live. Angela, it's funny. All right, let's look at what the mainstream media is reporting. This is from Law and Crime Network. So we had local news. Now we have Law and Crime Network with their montage. Montage. And this is on November 28th, 2022. So this is now almost 2 weeks removed. 2 weeks removed. All right, let's see what the mainstream media reported. Okay. So let's check this out. Law and Crime Network.
University of Idaho students, go
Tangent
back to
Levy
class.
rules, by the way.
University of Idaho students, go back to class
And
after
Jesse
the
Webb
long holiday
rule.
weekend, as police seem to have few leads in the murders of 4 students at their home off campus. I'm Anjanette Levy, and welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. We are taking a closer look at what we know so far in the murders of those 4 students a little more than 2 weeks ago. Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle had been out for the night and were killed sometime after they returned home in the early morning hours of November 13th. Maddie and Kaylee were captured on a Twitch stream video at the Grub Truck. That was a food truck shortly before they went home for the night. They had been at the Corner Club bar before that. Ethan and Xana were dating and had been at a party at the Sigma Chi house earlier in the evening. Here's Captain Roger Lanier of the Moscow Police Department discussing the timeline so far.
On the evening of November 12th and into the early morning hours of November 13th, Kaylee and Madison arrived home at approximately 1:45 a.m. after visiting a local bar and a street food vendor. Ethan and Xana were also out in the community at Sigma Chi, and they arrived home at approximately 1:45 a.m. 2 surviving roommates who were also out in the community arrived home at approximately 1 a.m.
Now, later that morning, it was 11:58 a.m. A 911 call was placed from one of the surviving roommates' cell phones. They had actually called a friend to the house because they believed one of the people who was actually killed was sleeping and unconscious. Police say the 911 call takers had actually spoken to more than one person who was at the home at the time. Autopsies revealed that the victims were all stabbed, and some of them had defensive wounds. Others were stabbed as they were sleeping. Police have said there were no signs of sexual assault. So far, police say they've been able to rule out some people related to the investigation. Joining me to discuss the very latest on this case is forensic death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan, who's been following this case very closely since the beginning. Joseph, welcome back to Sidebar.
That's all he was doing, just driving around.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Anjanette.
You know, the timing of this is really interesting and kind of peculiar. This happened, a week or so, week and a half before the long holiday weekend. So is there any way that could have impacted the investigation? The fact that kids may have been getting ready to go home for the holiday?
Yeah. In my estimation, yes, of course it could. As a college professor myself and living, and working in a university environment, it's kind of amazing when you have these events that kind of shake the university to its core, and it extends out. And with an event like this, you've already, let's just think about what the kids are thinking about at this moment in time. Prior to this event, they've had a long semester. They're coming to the end of it. They see the finish line. Thanksgiving is on this way, and all of a sudden, bam, this horrible event occurs. They were already thinking about leaving anyway. The floodgate was kind of open, when news, kind of leached out about this, and people were probably stumbling over themselves to get to their cars, to leave, to flee to safety, to get home. And from an investigative standpoint, this is a perfect storm. You begin to see things in a different light. You think, well, is it worth me hanging around for another day, another night, when I know that people that might not be in my immediate circle, but are at least peripheral to me, have had this event that has rocked us to our core? I think I'm leaving. Well, when that happens, the investigators lose a big chunk of potential interviewees. They've left. And here's the thing about doing an investigation. Sometimes for the investigators, they can stimulate something in the brain of an interviewee that the interviewee might not have thought about. And all of a sudden information comes out. It comes flowing back to the police. And think about how large this university is. If I've heard estimates of, 10 to 11,000 people inhabit this small space. It's amazing how many of these individuals may very well have data contained in their brain or in their remembrances that they might, just dismiss and say, well, that wasn't important. But then you contextualize it when you're sitting across the table from an investigator, and suddenly something clicks and you have important data flowing in. Now we're 2 weeks downrange at this moment in time. Think about this. 2 weeks downrange, memories begin to fade after this period of time. Recall is not.
Yeah, and that's my fear in all of this too. He just said, after a couple weeks, your memory tends to fade. I mean, now we could go years, and any relative witness in this case could forget intricate details of things they heard and saw. So it scares me. It scares me that this is going to go on. And believe me, Ann Taylor and Bryan Kohberger know that. To waive the speedy trial process now, to delay this trial, to put things out further than the said date, October 2nd. Now they delay it a year. People's memories will fade. Intricate details will go away. You may not be able to recall information the way that you did when you first initially saw it or heard it. So yeah, it does. It happens.
Immediate. So not only do you have a scene that is highly complex from a forensic standpoint, from
100% part of the plan, mine,
biological evidence. Now on the other side, you've got this kind of lack of communication or interaction with individuals that might have knowledge about the case.
So I would assume as an investigator, you would want to kind of put that plea out again. If you have kids who are returning back to school, you put that plea out again, or you're going through, the cell phone dumps of these victims, which can be very tedious and time consuming. And you're probably looking to, say, hey, we need to talk to you. Anybody who knew these people, who knew any of the victims, who might have some information. So I'm assuming we'll hear another plea for people to come forward.
Yeah, you will. And the other thing that you have to kind of entertain with this, and you don't know if their remembrances have now been kind of polluted by virtue of the fact of everything they've heard in the news. Because trust me, when they're at home, they've been watching this, and they're back at mom and dad's house. They've been watching this. This is where they go to school. This is where they live their lives. And so all of that data is coming in, and it can perhaps impact those remembrances that we've just talked about. And it kind of creates a headache for the investigators, and it diminishes the potential for clarity. If you had gotten to people like within, that 24 to 48 hour window, that could have worked. And this increases exponentially. We've got 4 victims, so each one of these victims have individual lives where they're going to class, they're going out to eat, maybe they've got jobs, and they're interacting with all of these different people that populate this area. So from a mathematical standpoint, when you begin to think about this,
send that to me, Carrie. We'll pull it up.
Highly complex.
It's eerie,
and that again is a problem.
You can drop it actually in the chat because you're a moderator. So if it's easier for you, you can just drop it right in the chat. It'll pop up, and that will actually give the chat room to look at it afterwards on replay. So if someone sees that, they can watch that. But why don't you pull that up, and we'll play that right after this. This is great. Actually, let's just do it right now. We're in real time. This is eerie. I don't know if you've all seen this, but this one is creepy and eerie. And what we're going to watch here is just keep an eye on the background. What we're going to see what looks like a white Honda Elantra driving in the background of this. Believe this was Creme 2. Oh no, this is was this Creme 2? KTVB. They're out local as well too. This is eerie and creepy.
Now to North Idaho, where 4 University of Idaho students were found dead in an off-campus house yesterday morning. Today, both the university and police identified the students who were killed. 3 of them are from Idaho. Our Andrew Bartline just arrived on scene a short time ago. So Andrew, tell us what you're
You know, look in the back of King Road. I don't know where it is in here. Someone's cut it out before. It's probably going to be, I believe it's right here, most replayed. So let's just skip ahead. That's the part that we want to see. You're not going to watch the whole thing. Keep an eye just to that back fence if you haven't seen this yet. And I've seen videos where they've superimposed it, I guess that's what they call it, or zoomed in, and they kind of follow the car. This is absolutely creepy. Super creepy.
A suspect?
Right up here.
No, and I think that's the part that makes this most confusing right now in terms of.
So let's do this. I'm gonna play it on real time, and then I'm gonna do it on slow so we can see it. I'll slow it down. You're gonna watch up in this area up here.
Information we've been able to get confirmed. The police department does not believe that there is a current ongoing threat.
Right
People
there.
do not have to.
Did you see it? I almost missed it. Did you see it? It's right up here.
Not believe that there is a current.
Right there. You can just see it emerge, and you're going to see it pop right in between these trees.
Ongoing threat.
Right there. Oh, it's eerie. Now, again, I mean, it could be a car in the neighborhood, but it's just really eerie, and it looks like an Hyundai Elantra. Let's slow it down and we'll watch it. Yeah, it's crazy, right, Diana? It's crazy. We need to do something here. Hang on one second. We're gonna do this. Let's do one of these. Diana, welcome to the membership. Welcome to being a wrench. You have now earned a wrench. You look good in blue. Diana is always here supporting. So welcome to a moderator. This was on November 14th, 2022. Yes, you are now a moderator. Okay, let's watch this slow motion.
That makes
I'm going to turn it down though, so we don't hear him go. Yes, blue looks good on you. And we'll watch here, and you're going to see it emerge out between these right there. Boom, look at that. Wow. Right there. Let's go back. There, see it? Right there. You see it? God, that's so weird. That is eerie. Eerie stuff. Right there. You're welcome. Congratulations. Right here. Boom, look at that. So November 14th, I don't know the time. That's the unfortunate thing. YouTube doesn't post times. It just gives dates. So November 14, 2022. But again, I'll drop this link if anybody wants to go back and look at it. There is, I guess, Brenda, again, it's just speculation. It's only speculation at this part, but it's just really eerie because that looks very similar to a white Honda Elantra. All right, let's go back to the mainstream media, Alarm Crime Network video. We'll play this out here.
That the Moscow Police Department has released. So far, more than 260
about 9 o'clock in the
pieces
morning
of digital evidence,
on the
whether that's
14th.
photographs or video, have been uploaded to the FBI's link. 113 pieces of physical evidence have been submitted to the Idaho State Police Crime Lab for processing. We know those things can take some time.
I wish I could find the one that zooms
they may
in.
be putting a
and you can
rush on
see,
it.
like,
So
someone in
we're
the
a little more
car,
than 2 weeks
legitimately
in.
the
What
car.
should investigators know by now?
Well, I think that what they know, and this is, kind of obvious, on my part, when you begin to think about this, they know that they have something that they're dealing with that is very complex, particularly when you begin to think about the biological evidence that I've already mentioned. I always return back to the idea of commingling of this evidence, and I'm talking specifically about blood evidence, and also that's layered on top of that, Anjanette, is the problem. If we are to believe what we have heard, this location was a hangout spot for a lot of kids that come.
If Jeff H is still in the chat, that would be a great video for him to do, to zoom in on that and isolate it, because I know he's very good at that. I don't know if Jeff is still here. If Jeff is still here, that'd be a great video for you to go out and do that and zoom in.
And there's no negative connotation. People do that in college. I did that in college. Everybody I know did that in college. There was a place that you went to, friends, off campus. Well, for every person that entered into that residence, there's a potential that they left some remnant of themselves behind. And right now I'm talking about touch DNA. Not only that, I'm thinking about the shedding of hair, because you lose hair in this environment as well. And the trouble that presents for the forensic scientist is they have to wade through all of that potential data and examine it bit by bit to try and understand who this is connected to. Also, you begin to kind of whittle this down. Your five, well, let me get my arithmetic right. Your 6 knowns that inhabit that space day in and day out. You've got 5 roommates and you've got a boyfriend. Well, you also have to think about, did anybody else in that environment have a romantic partner that might be visiting that location on a more than regular basis? They're kind of in and out. They might have access to the property. So that's another person that would be connected to this. Then you think about, well, did parents help anybody move in or move out? Have parents been there? So you think about their DNA. And then you've got the hangout crowd, all of those people that kind of migrate through this location in and out. What are they dragging in with them? So it is a daunting undertaking for people that work in trace evidence, and specifically for those that work in DNA.
And police have been battling a lot of things having to do with this case, including the spread of rumors. And they addressed one of these when they discussed the 911 call that was placed from the home on November 13th. So let's listen as Captain Lanier discusses the 911 call in this case.
We have not released the names of any of the subjects who spoke on the 911 call, and we have not released the call itself. Any online reports of the victims being tied and gagged
is wrong,
are not accurate.
Right.
Joseph, you heard Captain Lanier saying that the victims in this case were not tied or gagged or anything like that. So obviously there are a lot of rumors spreading about this case, and they're trying to dispel those rumors. But the 911 call itself, do you find it unusual that that has not been released? A lot of times in cases, we hear these 911 calls. They're released pretty quickly, but they're not talking about who was on the call, who placed the call, and they're not letting us hear it. So why is that?
Yeah, I think that it's a major piece of evidence, or at least the police view it that way. And they want to try to keep this as locked down as they possibly can. I take issue, I think, with people that say that the police are lagging, or they're not on top of things as they should be. I think just the opposite. I think they're really on top of this, and that they're trying to keep in check all of the evidence that they have, whether it be, the blood evidence. And I've heard all these wild things about
Anjanette Levy's great.
Perpetrator possibly taking a shower at the residence and probably changing clothes with them. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but a lot of the stuff is wild speculation because people want information for whatever reason. And I don't necessarily think that it's the people that occupy Moscow, Idaho. I think more than anybody, they want these crimes solved.
I think with the 911 call, I mean, there possibly could be some names that were said on that call. It's interesting. We've speculated over that again and again and again and again and again, but there is some key information in that call. I mean, who knows? Maybe someone said, I know who did it. It's Bryan Kohberger. He had to have done this. Maybe they say something. I'm only speculating here. Again, I cannot prove that, but there's definitely, maybe there was wounds that were described the way that they were the victims were, where the victims were, where the knife wounds were. Did you check their pulse? Are they breathing? No, I see stabs. There's blood everywhere. You don't want to put that out into the public. Not yet anyway, because it's very crucial to this investigation. Maybe there's other voices in that background. Maybe, I don't know. I'm only speculating here again, but I would say, if there's any just description of the crime scene, there's blood everywhere. There's the knife wounds are here. They're, whatever. They're not breathing. They're not this. They're not that. They're just laying on the floor, confusion, screaming, yelling. Could be anything like that. And that's the big mystery. That is the big mystery. But it may be the specific order to not put that out there to protect particular evidence in this case. And I know that bothers people. That's one of the handful of things. What is the connection? What happened in that house? Why the 911 call? Those are big things in this case. Absolutely.
People just have a thirst for information, and so things can kick off very, very easily, and rumors can start.
Maybe someone said, their throat is slashed, or there's a huge, their into their heart, or whatever, stab wounds all over their body. Could be anything like that. And they don't want to put that information out there. It may be, maybe the families are asking to not put that out there until trial. Could be something like that for respect to the families.
Understanding where the idea of binding came up.
It seems like it would be unusual with 4 victims, right?
Yeah.
Gag order.
It would be. How are you going to maintain that? And then,
gag order
could
be it too.
Well, I've heard people say that there was
absolutely
more than
that could be it too. You're protecting the 2 witnesses. Maybe there's statements on there of things that they said that they're going to need to testify to in court. Maybe they gave some information. So again, I don't think it's a conspiracy, but they're protecting something. There's something that's very crucial in that 911 call that should not be released to the public, and it's under gag.
Rumor said there were 3 that went in, and I don't see how people are coming to these conclusions at this point. And at this point, it's total and complete speculation.
Dana, thank you so much
until the police confirm it, and they're not going to
for becoming a rookie detective. Let's celebrate a new member. If anybody's not a member and you'd love to support the channel and you want to join a membership, I have all my membership content on my homepage, and all my memberships only start at $1.99. That's $1.99 a month. That's less than a cup of coffee, and it helps support content like this. So if you want to join, you can go down there and just hit the join button. We appreciate it. If not, and you haven't already, smash that upvote button. We're going to try to get to 100 likes tonight. That'd be really great. All right, let's finish this out, and then we're going to finish up the stream here in a bit.
Information is the coin of the realm, if you will. The data here is the coin of the realm, and they have to protect it very carefully, because if they don't know who the perpetrator is, okay, at this point, anything that they can release, if they capture somebody in this case, any information that's disseminated to the general public is disseminated to the perpetrator, and they can adjust their statement, when they are brought in for questioning.
It's interesting you bring that up, because one of the things I've been thinking about is the fact that they've released information about the murder weapon in this case, or at least what they believe to be the murder weapon. And they've said that they believe they're looking for a blade knife. That to me was pretty shocking because I'm listening to this press conference and they're
We got Tim Bray. Dude, I love that avatar. That avatar is badass. Look at his avatar. That's so cool. Tim Bray's become a rookie detective. I appreciate you so much. Let's give Tim the round of applause for the new member tone, the new member tone membership. And the cheer. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate your support.
Talking about this, and this seems like a really key piece of evidence. It is the key piece of evidence in this case. It could lead you to the killer. Obviously, you want the public to know maybe what you're looking for and if they've seen something like this, but it also tips off the killer. So what were your thoughts on them releasing the fact that they believe this was a fixed blade knife? Because they were obviously probably able to tell what made these wounds, or at least the coroner was able to do so.
Yeah, they would have been, and I was shocked. I was shocked, because let's go over the descriptors that we've heard. We've heard military style, we've heard Rambo style, we've heard hunting knife, and more specifically, we've heard K-bar. And K-bar is a type of knife that is associated primarily with the Marine Corps. Our Marines have carried K-bar since, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I think since World War II or maybe
Yep,
even before.
World War II.
It's a very specific type of knife. You can purchase them anywhere, though. You don't have to be a Marine to own one. And so that's very specific. Where's all of that coming from? Okay, all of these different identifiers relative to the type of knife that keeps coming up. I think the one thing that you can take away from this is that it is a single-edged weapon, okay? Because military style knives are not double-edged weapons, where you're
Yes.
thinking about like a dagger, for instance.
I think it was the calling card. Yes. Because there's no DNA all over the knife. It's only on that knife sheath. So that means that he opened it just a couple of times. Try it out. And I think that it was taken out and it was placed or put on that bed. I agree. I think it's the calling card. This has been set up from day one. And I now starting to look at all of this and going back. We look at the history. We've learned of the history of Bryan, okay? Feeling down, having issues, the visual snow, the rejection, the drugs, and then trying to clean his image, get on the right path, start to take maybe some more interest in school and his education, then wants to be a police officer, gets complaints against him, kicked out of that program in high school. Women complain about him. Interviews at the police department, gets rejected. Probably rejected in society, rejected by women, can't get dates. Now this is all building, it's all festering inside. And then it's, well, if I go out and become an active shooter, that's a little bit too easy. Not meaning me. I'm just describing a scenario here because I know the YouTube algorithm's not going to like this type of conversation. But let's just say, for the sake of, I guess, demonstration or whatever, how we want to put it, that would be too easy. So plan something methodical, plan something more personal. And now it's I'm going to get you. I'm going to show you what I can do. And I'm going to make everybody look all over for me. That's what I think. It's like a revenge. It's like a revenge on society, revenge on the women that have rejected me, revenge on the life that I could have never had, that jealousy of these individuals, these kids having fun, partying, hanging out, not being part of that crowd. You don't want to accept me? Well, I'm going to get you, and I'm going to do it in a big way. That's what I think.
It has, with military style knife, they have a facility to them where you'll have an edged an edge side, and many times along the spine, that is the bulky backside part of it. You can have a saw, like saw teeth, and they're very robust looking, so that if you're in a survival situation, you can saw down small saplings and these sorts of things. Also, a military style knife. One of the features of it, and remember, you said fixed blade. This is not a flip knife. This is not like what people would call
Well, that's what I
pocket
mean.
knife
I'll
or
show
buck knife or
you,
that sort of
you
thing.
know, that.
Many times with a military style knife, it will have a hilt guard, and that's that little bar that separates the handle from the blade. And when you're examining wounds that are brought about as a result of the use of a weapon with a hilt guard, it'll leave a contusion around the actual wound itself, because obviously that's not going to penetrate into the body, but it'll contuse the body as a result of the stab wound. So you've got the blade leading into the body, and then where the hilt guard is, it will leave a contusion adjacent to the injury itself, to the fatal injury, or to the stab wound.
I want to take a look now at just this TikTok video that Kaylee Goncalves posted on October 27th. It's just her and some of the roommates just having a little bit of fun.
Hey guys, I know I talk about myself a lot, but like, what would you guys do in my situation? Dana, where are you going? Yeah, I gotta go pull you out. Failed 12 of them already.
Joseph, it's really sad for me to look at this video and to see these girls, these young women really, really just having a fun time, and then to think what happened to two of them a couple of weeks later. One of the things that they've been talking about on these press conferences is the fact that there have been reports that Kaylee Goncalves thought she had a stalker. The police said they've been looking into that and they haven't found any evidence of that, but that they are continuing to look into that. These are people, obviously, who were really active on social media. So your thoughts on this kind of rumor that's been spreading around, or maybe it's not really a rumor, but the information that she may have had a stalker?
Yeah, well, this is the age that we live in.
I think that he started the vegan diet to slim down, to build strength. There's rumors that he was an avid runner. I'm sure he probably lifted weights. I mean, I look at him when I see him in court, and he's very big upper body like me. I'm tall. I'm 6 foot, 205 pounds. He's much taller than me, but he's very skinny. And I'm going to tell you, just looking at him, I think that he is freakishly strong. He looks like one of those people that just are freakishly strong, if you know what I mean. Has a lot of strength. And I think when rage runs through his body and he sees red, it's a scary sight. I think that he can do some immense damage to someone. Immense damage.
Because it's not just, your business, or even back in the days before there was this proliferation of social media. It's not just like the population of the University of Idaho is involved in this. Now you're sending this out far and wide. Everybody has access, and as scary as this is, an insight into your life. You just mentioned, them kind of cutting up in this environment, imitating one another, that sort of thing. That's very intimate. In the past, we might have a joke between us as friends.
Thank you, Sharon. We're going to do more of these. We're going to build this into a quite a few part series, and we're going to go back and bring us right up to present day. So I'll do my research. I'll make sure that all of these streams are well put together, and then we can go back and review and reflect. And I appreciate you being here this evening. Thank you.
And might mimic another person.
Thank you, Danielle. I appreciate you.
Now that view into their life is very intimate, and it gives you a peek, into a window of their life. And for every little peek,
so close to 100 likes.
Glean.
If you haven't smashed that like button already, please do. Let's try to get 100 likes before we shut down this stream tonight. That'd be great.
Opportunistic can see the world that you inhabit. Because what did we learn? Well, we learned something about the personalities of these young women. We learned something about the physical structure, didn't we? We could see. I think I saw a staircase in there. I saw them,
I think it needs to
walking
be done.
around. You kind of get a sense for the orientation of the place. Yeah, yeah. And so you're opening the whole world up to the space that you occupy in the most intimate sense. Everybody can see, and it's terrifying.
It is absolutely terrifying. Well, Joseph Scott Morgan, we want people who have.
Pause this really quick. So let's see. Caterbug says, I think mental illness is a huge part of this, and he has been dealing with it for a long time, but it doesn't give you the excuse to kill. If Bryan Kohberger did do this, it doesn't give him the excuse to kill.
Information, tips about this case, suspicions, even if people think it's not important, they need to report it to law enforcement, and they can do that. There's a tip line. It's 208-883-7180. There's also an email. It's tipline@ci.moscow.id.us. And digital media, photos, videos can be uploaded to fbi.gov/Moscow, Idaho. Joseph Scott Morgan, forensic death investigator, thanks as always for your time and your expertise. We really appreciate it. And that's it for this edition of Law and Crime Sidebar podcast. It is produced by Sam Goldberg, Logan Harris.
All right. I'm going to get out of that one there. Okay. Excuse me. All right. We are at just about the 2-hour mark here. And this is usually where I like to cut it off for replay because the 2-hour streams just get a little crazy for some people. But before we go, I want to just show you some conversation that I had earlier this afternoon that I all wanted to let you in on. Let me just bring this up here. Just give me a second. And I'm going to just show you what happened earlier this afternoon. Okay. So if you go to the Gonzalez family page, YouTube page, if you type in the chat, it will give you their address. So if anybody wants to send anything to the Gonzalez family, that is their address. And I'm probably going to be putting something together here pretty soon to send to them. But I just wanted to share this with you. This was my letter that I had sent over, or message. So I said, Dear Gonzalez family, I extend my heartfelt greetings to you this morning, reaching out to you to convey my sincerest condolences for your loss you have experienced. I cannot fathom the extent of the pain and sorrow your family has endured over the past 9 months. From the very outs, I have closely followed the case of your daughter, Kaylee, and my dedication to upholding the truth and justice for her, as well as the other victims, remain unwavering. Through my platform, the LTL podcast on YouTube, I've made it my mission to maintain the integrity of the investigation, relying solely on legitimate legal documents and case-related information. I consciously avoid delving into conspiracy theories, and I am committed to denouncing and disseminating of false information, condoning those who engage in such discussions. My firm conviction is that the person currently in custody is indeed responsible for these heinous crimes, and that is imperative that they be held accountable for their action. I want to assure you that I will continue to stand with your family and the other victims, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan, tirelessly and indefinitely. I am grateful for your attention to this message. Please know that my thoughts are all with you during this challenging time. With empathy, Bryan. So I got that. And then I want to show you this. I did get a response, which was sweet. And I'm not sure if this is just the managing person of the page. But at 4:15 today, I got a response. And they said, wow, well, Bryan, well said, Bryan. Keep up the great work. Much love from, and then there was the 2 hearts, the red and yellow heart. Our 2 girls, pink is for Maddie, May, and the yellow is for my Kaylee, Jade, and the rest of the Gonzaleses. I'm probably guessing this is one of the parents. So I would say it's probably Christy or Steve. As they said, is for my Kaylee, Jade. I'm going to probably say it's Christy managing the page. So I did respond back and said, thank you for the response. If you ever want a platform to share memories of Kaylee and Maddie on my platform and heart is always open to you. My audience would love it. And then I just signed it with my name, and then I put the red and yellow heart. So if the Gonzalez family is watching this evening, if Christy is watching this evening, we stand with you. We love and respect you. I've always supported you and have always said, if it was my daughter, I would be doing the same thing. You keep being you. You keep fighting for your daughter and the other victims. And again, my platform is always open to the Gonzalez family if they ever want to speak, outside the mainstream media. So I think with that, my friends, we're going to wrap this one up. I just want to thank everybody for coming in this evening and going back and reviewing and reflecting on this case over the last, 9 months now. And it's been a very huge emotional roller coaster for all of us because we are so invested in this and we want to see absolute justice in this case. We want to see absolute justice for these victims, everything that has happened. And these 4 individuals, as long as this case goes and after this case goes, will always be part of us because we want to know. And we want to know what happened. And we want to get to the bottom of it. So, my friends, hang in there. We got a long way to go here. I will continue this review and reflect series to add into my original Looking Back series. And we will continue to go over everything in this case, what we know up until this point. So thank you so much for being here and being part of the stream tonight. And as I said, I will continue reporting and continue doing the right thing and putting correct, good, relevant information out there. So thank you all this evening. I just want to recognize these before I go on my way out. Susan Wood, again, thank you so much for your $9.99. Diana, thank you so much for becoming a channel member, and congratulations to your wrench this evening. Well deserved. You're always here to support. If I'm in a midday stream or a morning stream or a night stream, you are here. And then we wanted to welcome Tim Bray as well to the membership group as well. So thank you for taking a membership and joining this amazing community. We are so close. As we stand right now, the LTL podcast is at 8925 in the sub count. We're so close to 10,000 subs. We're very, very close. And that can only happen with this amazing community that comes here on a night to night basis and hang out in our chat. And I get it. You can't be here every night, and that's okay. But I just ask you, if you can't be here, just find it in your heart to go back and watch the streams that are there and just leave a comment and interact with that stream, even if it's just leaving a comment and a like, because that does help continue this channel and get it out through the algorithm. So I do have a few things planned. Tomorrow is the last day of my staycation. I have a very important appointment that needs to be taken care of in the morning. So I will be out without a vehicle all day. And after I get home, I may do another pop-up afternoon stream and then come back tomorrow night for a final stream before I go back to work. But I will continue streaming. It's just not going to be consistently every night how I've been for the past 7 nights being home. So I will continue. Oh, yes. And Carrie H is just reminding me, if you are watching it on replay, just go down there and hit #replay in the comments. We love seeing that. So again, my friends, we're going to end this stream for tonight. Be well, be safe. And really quick, before I go out, I want to show you this. As I was talking about stress, the spokesman, and this is back, and just even reading the headline, this is January 15, 2023, with a critical eyes nation on Moscow, Police Chief James Fry perseveres to help deliver justice for slain students. So, I mean, even this is now in January, just saying the stress that this man has gone under, and being the face of that investigation. So, okay, we're going to get out of here. Again, my final goodbye to everybody. I appreciate you, appreciate all my mods, appreciate all the new people that came into the chat this evening. Be well, be kind, and I will be back tomorrow night. Thanks so much. Have a great night.